So you've gone onto Simbrief and you've generated yourself a flight plan using the very excellent tools available from Navigraph, whether you have a subscription for the current navigational data or you are using the free navigational data, which might be a little bit out of date. But you've decided to create a flight plan. In this instance, we're going from EGLL, which is London Heathrow, and we're flying to LFBO, which is Toulouse in southwest France. And you create your flight plan and you get a route generated, and this route is composed of quite a few different bits of code. Now you can just load this into the aircraft without really having to worry about it, but it's worth knowing exactly how this code is put together, and that way, when you are programming a route in the aircraft, and you may be having to amend it and change it en route as air traffic control gives you different instructions, you understand exactly what it is that's in front of you. So the first part of this code is the departure airport and the runway, EGLL being Heathrow, 09R being the runway that we will depart from in our flight plan. So here we go, 09R on the charts. And it's quite important, whatever source you can get the charts from, that you can see exactly what you're dealing with. At the very end of the code is the destination airport and runway. So in Toulouse with 32L will be the runway that we're intending to land on. There's 32L on the airport chart of Toulouse. The next part of the code is the planned cruise speed in knots. So 267 knots exactly is the anticipated cruise speed that Simbrief has generated for this flight plan. And the next part is the cruise altitude, so flight level 210, 21,000 feet for this particular aircraft. The aircraft that I generated this flight plan with is the ATR. Obviously, if you were in a bigger airliner, you would probably be going at a faster cruise speed and probably a little higher. So this has been generated with that specific aircraft in mind. Next part, immediately after that, is the departure SID from Heathrow. Now you can tell it's a SID because generally they end in a number and a letter code, which is usually the revision of that particular SID procedure. And we can see here on the charts that we've got available that this particular procedure takes us up to ModeMe, which is the first waypoint at the end of the departure SID. And the SIDs are generally named for the waypoint which is at the termination of the procedure. So you can see this procedure only takes you as far as ModeMe, and then you have to have further information in your flight plan as to how you depart from ModeMe. There's also a destination star, which is the last item before the destination airport and runway. So this is the procedure at the far end of the route to get us to Toulouse. So you can see that we arrive at the waypoint called Narek, and the charts shown on the screen. Narek 7 India is a very simple procedure that just goes from Narek and takes us up to Lavku. From that point, we'd probably be vectored by air traffic control to actually get to the airport. So it's a very simple procedure, one waypoint. They can be a lot more complicated than this, but this is a very simple example. Between our departure SID and our destination star, we have a series of waypoints. Now these are all known waypoints on the aeronautical charts, and this is basically showing our routing from London to get to Toulouse. Between the waypoints we have airways, and you can tell they're airways because generally they start with a letter and then a number. So between ModeMe and MID, Mike 185 airway. Between MID and SITET is the Lima 151 airway. And what this looks like on the charts, to just take that example, we go from MID to SITET on Lima 151. Now if we didn't declare Lima 151 as a sort of routing, we could just say instead that we're going from MID to Drake to sight at. The idea being that these airways can be quite long, so you can cut out all the intermediate waypoints and just indicate how far along that route that you want to travel. It's like saying, let's take the motorway all the way to Paris. You don't have to indicate every town that you'll go through or go past on the way. You just say, let's take this route until we get to X. So that's how the flight planning works. Where we don't have airways, we have the code DCT. Now this means direct. What this means is that there isn't an airway that connects these 2 points. Generally, airways need to be followed through air routing. They're there for a reason. They're there to sort of keep structure and order in how aircraft move around the world in different altitudes, different directions, rather than it just being a free-for-all. In certain parts of the world, there aren't actually really any controlled airways. So once we get to this part of France, we have to take direct paths between these known waypoints. For example, the airways just stop at this point. So when we get to Sopel, we need to go to Ballon, but there is no airway between them. So you can see in that part of France, there are no airways. So we need to go direct from Sopel to Ballon. So there we have it. So that basically is the structure that explains the flight plan. And what we'll do next is we'll insert this into the flight management computer in the ATR. So when we're in the cockpit of the ATR, the first thing we're going to do on the MCDU menu is click the first button on the left, and we need to initiate the system before we actually start entering the flight plan. So we press the init button on the bottom right, and then position initialization. We need to select our current GPS position, and this pastes it into our initialization position, and then we can click init again. Then we're going to go return, flight plan initialization on the bottom left, route at the top left. This is where we start setting up our flight plan. So the first thing we need to do is we need to put the from and to, so our main destination and departure airports. So first of all, we will type using the keys EGLL for London Heathrow, then the slash, then L, F, B, O for Toulouse. Once that's entered, you hit the button for from to, and that establishes that into the system. Took a little while there, but it's done. Then we hit the exec button on the bottom right. So basically we've got a very, very simple flight plan. We have EGLL and then a discontinuity because the aircraft doesn't know how we're getting between the two airports at the moment, with a 476 nautical miles. So that sounds about right. But we have to enter further information before we can continue. So first of all, we click on the left-hand button immediately next to EGLL. It's asking us now which runway we want to depart from. So of course in our flight plan it was 09R was our departure runway. It's then asking us which SID that we are going to use with our departure, and our SID of course is MODM 1 Juliet. There will be no transitions, and in fact no transitions are available with this SID, and then we exec. So now it's given us a series of waypoints as part of that transition. So they are all filled in. And now what the flight plan is doing, it's taking us from the end of that transition all the way to Toulouse. But we know that there's more information that we need to put into the flight plan before we get to Toulouse, because there's a specific route that we need to fly. So we click on the left-hand button of ModMe, and here we can decide to put in the next waypoint after ModMe. But what we're going to do is put in the next airway. Now you just have to select the button next to airway and pick the airway that we will be traveling on after ModMe. There are only two options here because only two airways intersect with the ModMe waypoint. And of course it is M185 or Mike 185. And we then press the button to say where do we need to take that airway to. And we're taking it as far as mid. So we're going from ModMe to mid on Mike 185, and then we exec. Return to the flight plan, return. Now we can see we've got ModMe, then M185 to mid. So we have more information to enter. So between mid and Toulouse, we have more airways. So we'll proceed from mid, and we'll pick airway L151. And we will take that to SITET, which we can't see on this page. So there are other options. We can keep going, SITET. And we exec that. Return, return. So we'll continue this. We'll go from SITET, airway. And airway Uniform November 859 is next, and we will take that as far as Sopel, which must be on the next page. Sopel, exec, return, return. So now we've added quite a few waypoints because that's quite a long route. Sopel. Then there are no more airways, so we'll be going direct to Ballon. So we click on Sopel, and instead of selecting an airway, we can select the next waypoint. Oh, it's not letting us because there's not actually a menu of options. In this case, we actually have to type in the waypoint that we require. So we type in Ballon. Then we press the button next to the next waypoint to assign. It's asking us to pick here because there are actually two waypoints in the world called Ballon, and it's in LF, which is the code for France. So we select that one, and then we exec and return. Now we have Ballon. Then we need to go to FPOC. So we proceed to click next to Ballon again and repeat what we just did to add another waypoint. So FPOC. If only I could see the keys. Exec. Unfortunately, it jumped us back up the pages. They're on page 4 or 5. So we still need to go to Narok from FPOC. So from FPOC, we enter our last waypoint, which is NARAK. Enter that into the next waypoint and exec. It didn't ask us to specify which Narok waypoint because there's obviously only one in the world. So now we have a full flight plan. The only thing that we're missing at this point is the destination star for Toulouse. Now, what you might find is that you can leave that until air traffic control actually confirm which destination star and which runway that you're going to use. But just to demonstrate how you enter that, in this case, we click on the button next to the destination airport, and we pick the approach, and the runway is going to be 32 left, and then it gives you options for the stars, and there's page 1 of 3. So we're looking for Nara 7 India, and there we go, Nara 7 India. There is no VIA. We are going basically straight from Narok with no intermediate points. And there we go. flight plan is complete.